In the year 2439, Earth was a shadow of its former self. The oceans had receded, glaciers vanished, and the once green continents now lay buried beneath deserts of ash and irradiated sand. Humanity hadn't gone extinct, not yet, but had shrunk to scattered tribes and scavengers clinging to ruins like mold on rusted steel. 17-year-old Kaya Ven had never seen rain. Her earliest memory was of her father handing her a tin cup half filled with distilled water and whispering, "Never waste it. One day, it'll be rarer than gold." He had died 3 years later in a sandstorm that had swallowed half of old Nevada. Kaya survived by becoming what the world demanded: fast, hard, and clever. She scavenged the ruins, traded old tech for water rations, and rarely trusted anyone. Her only constant companion was Unit 9, a boxy, one-wheeled survey droid with a chirpy malfunction in its voice modulator. Scanning for water. Scanning for water. Still, bone-dry, darling. Kaya rolled her eyes as she walked the edge of the Skell Crater, a half-mile-wide depression that hadn't been there a year ago. Satellite readings suggested an impact event, or something even stranger. She didn't care about the cause. What mattered was a reading on her handheld scanner. Trace hydrogen detected. That meant water. Her boots crunched across glassified sand. The crater shimmered in the heat. Its inner slope, jagged and pitted like some angry god, had punched the earth. Kaya squinted at the scanner again. The signal pulsed stronger the closer. She came to the crater's center. Unit 9, drop a sensor here. Log coordinates and keep an eye out. Affirmative. Death watch initiated. Kaya slid down the final edge of the crater, skidding to a halt on a shelf of cool black rock. Then she saw it, a massive shape, half buried in stone and sand. Not a ship, not a structure. It was alive, or had been. Its surface shimmered like polished armor, but there were clear signs of organic structure. Slitted vents that resembled gills, rib-like ridges, and long, clawed limbs curled inward as though in hibernation or death. 2 wings, tattered and skeletal, were partially embedded in the rock like fossilized sails. And the head, oh God, the head, was draconic, but unlike any dragon of myth. It was elongated, sleek, with 6 opalescent eyes shut tight, and a crown of ridge bone that pulsed faintly with iridescent light. It looked like someone had forged a god beast out of obsidian and starlight. Kaya approached slowly, hand on the shock pistol at her hip. Don't be stupid. It's just a relic. Dead metal. Just salvage. She reached out and touched the creature's side. The reaction was instant. A surge of light raced along the creature's body, veins of glowing blue and violet flaring to life for the first time in centuries. The air vibrated with a low hum, too low to be sound, more like a pressure in her skull. And then a voice filled her mind. Not heard through her ears, but inside her thoughts, booming, ancient, yet brittle with exhaustion. Please, I thirst. I have waited so long, so dry, so alone. Kaya stumbled back, tripping and falling hard onto the rock. Her breath hitched. She blinked wildly, staring at the creature. The voice came again, clearer this time, like a whisper behind her eyes. Do not fear me, bearer of water. I am Zerithion, last of the Hydroni, and I am dying. The world seemed to freeze around her. Her survival instincts screamed at her to run. But another part, deep human compassionate, held her in place. You're alive? Kaya whispered aloud. A pause. Then, in part, my systems are depleted. My core has withered. I was forged to birth rivers, carve seas, bring balance. Now I could do nothing but lie beneath the dying sun. Kaya's breath caught. The creature before her, Zerithion, wasn't just a dragon. He was an alien terraformer, a living construct built to shape ecosystems, possibly part of a race or technology older than human memory. And he was thirsty, but not in the way Kaya first assumed. Her scanner beeped again. Hydrogen levels were spiking near the creature's chest, where a faint glow pulsed beneath a translucent plate. I don't have much water, she said cautiously. A purifier, some filters. I can give you a little, but... It is not liquid water I need. Zerithion interrupted, voice thick with suffering. I require free hydrogen. Separated. Pure. Your water is bound, but your machine's your fire. Realization hit her. He needed hydrogen, not to drink, but to fuel something deeper, his biological core, maybe even his life-sustaining systems. Like a fusion engine trying to run on fumes. And Earth, especially this dry, post-collapse Earth, was no longer rich in that kind of resource. Kaya stood in silence, her mind spinning. This being, this alien dragon, had been buried and dying for centuries, possibly longer, begging, praying someone would come close enough to hear his final plea. And she had. "Why me?" she asked. "Why now?" Zerithion's eyes slowly opened. One pair only. They glowed like nebulae behind crystal. Because you carry water not only in body, but in spirit. And you are not afraid, not truly. Kaya looked up at the massive, broken form. She could walk away. Leave. Forget this ever happened. There was no profit here. No one would believe her. But something about the raw despair in that voice touched her. She had known thirst. She had known what it meant to beg the sky for rain and be met with silence. And now the sky whispered back in the voice of a dying star beast. "I'll help you," she said quietly. Somehow. She didn't yet know how, but she would. Kaya didn't sleep that night. She sat at the edge of the crater, knees drawn to her chest, watching the dying alien dragon pulse weakly in the darkness. The stars above blinked like indifferent gods, and the wind stirred the sands like an unseen hand brushing bones. Below, Zerithion lay still. His glow had faded again, returning to a dim flicker within his cracked chest. Occasionally, she heard a low sound, not quite a breath, not quite a groan, but something in between. It echoed faintly across her mind, like an old machine whispering its final thoughts. "I will die here," the thought repeated. Unless she helps me." Kaya stared down at her only canteen, a half-liter of purified water. More valuable than food, more valuable than credits. She could survive on it for 2 days if she rationed. But it wasn't enough for him. Not by a long shot. She reviewed her father's journal again, flipping through pages of notes, sketches, and fragmented maps. Her dad had been many things, scavenger, tech savant, doomsayer, but he'd also been a dreamer. One entry caught her eye. Entry number 229, the ice tomb. Rumor has it the old orbital refineries crashed somewhere in the Siberian wastes. They were processing hydrogen ice for off-world launches before the war started. If even one of those tanks survived, that's enough pure hydrogen to power a continent, or a goddamn alien. Kaya looked back towards Zerithion. Maybe her dad was right. Maybe there really was a hydrogen source buried in the far north. The problem? It was thousands of kilometers away across hostile wastes, mutant storms, raider territory, and territories contaminated by long-dead weapons. She would never make it on foot. Unless... The next morning, Kaya approached the massive dragon with a hesitant step. The sky was turning gray-blue, and a dust storm loomed in the west. She placed a hand against his cooling flank. "I know where to find what you need," she said. There was silence at first. Then, a low pulse of thought entered her mind. "Speak." "An orbital refinery. Crashed long ago. Might still have hydrogen tanks buried in permafrost. It's thousands of clicks from here. But if you can move, fly, I can get us there." There was a pause. Then, a flicker of light surged across Zerithion's wing veins. With a tortured groan of shifting metal and bone, the giant dragon stirred, shifting one clawed limb from the dust. His wings groaned, skeletal and tattered. He rose partway, slow, painful but alive. "I will fly," he said, "but only with your help. My systems are corrupted. Navigation broken. I need a mind to guide me." "You want me to pilot a dragon?" she asked, incredulous. "Not pilot," came the reply. "Merge." Before she could respond, the dragon's eyes flared and a tendril of shimmering light snaked from his chest toward her. Instinctively, she backed away, but it didn't hurt. The light gently brushed her forehead, and suddenly her thoughts exploded outward. Kaya gasped. She was no longer just in her body. She was inside Zerithion. She could see from his eyes, feel the damage in his wings, the sluggishness of his core, the brittle ache in his memory banks. His mind was vast, a galaxy of memories, and cold with loneliness. And he could feel her, every fear, every scar, every bitter hope. It was terrifying. It was intimate, and it was working. "We are one now," he said. "You steer with thought. You lend me strength. We will reach this ice tomb or perish trying." The flight begins. Zerithion's takeoff was a violent, thunderous thing. His engines, or lungs, or something between the two, roared to life, churning sand into a firestorm. Kaya clung to the spine ridge as the massive body surged skyward, wings flapping like titanic solar panels cracked with age. They rose into the air, unsteady but gaining altitude. Kaya's mind was half in her body, half in his, reading currents, plotting bearings, adjusting for drag and gravity. She didn't know how she knew what to do. It was instinctual, as if their minds were aligning across biological and mechanical boundaries. Below them, the waste stretched out in waves of brown and gray. "Northeast," she whispered, "toward Siberia." And they flew. Threats from below. The first attack came at dusk on day 2. A group of sky raiders in glider bikes, patched together with old tech and bad attitude, spotted them. The raiders had heard the legends of a black-winged creature flying across the sky, trailing lightning and starlight. They thought he was a myth, or a prize. Kaya saw the attack coming through Zerithion's senses. Heat signatures, plasma bursts, motion trails. She warned him a split second before the first bolt of plasma arced toward them. "Brace!" Zerithion twisted midair, corkscrewing through a barrage of plasma fire. His tail lashed out, smashing one glider to pieces, sending its pilot spiraling to the desert below. Kaya activated one of the old fusion-tipped spikes her father had kept in his bag, a salvage missile core. She fed it into a launch socket near Zerithion's shoulder. Fire, a blast of white-hot light surged forward, obliterating 2 raiders in one scream of fusion energy. But Zerithion wasn't built for battle anymore. He was bleeding energy with every strike. They had to land, fast, a moment beneath the stars. That night, Kaya patched Zerithion's fractured wing with metal sheeting from the wreckage. As she worked, he spoke, his voice softer, no longer desperate but curious. "You do not fear me. You're not the scariest thing I've seen," she said, wiping oil from her hands. "You're just old, tired. I was born in a nebula, forged in a ring of gas. My kind shaped worlds, breathed oceans into airless stones. But we were hunted, shut down, some of us abandoned. I fell during Earth's collapse. I never meant to interfere with your kind." "You didn't," she said. "We did this to ourselves." There was a long pause. "You carry much pain. Loss." Kaya didn't answer. He already knew. Instead, she sat beside him in silence, under the stars. 2 survivors of different ages, different galaxies, bound by thirst and time. The vision, that night Kaya dreamed. Not her own dream, but his. She saw Earth as it once was, before humans, before cities. A barren rock. And then the Hydroni came, massive beings seeded from starlight and living code. Zerithion led them, breathing oceans into existence, carving rivers into bedrock, calling rain from sterile skies. She saw Earth become, and she saw them fall, hunted by warships, betrayed by civilizations who feared their power. Zerithion crashed landing in fire, burying himself in the sands to wait out eternity. When Kaya awoke, she was crying, not for herself, but for him. They crossed the scorched plateau on the morning of the 5th day. Below them stretched miles of rusted metal, the remains of collapsed solar cities and sky farms that had once reached into the heavens. What little Kaya had read about this place from her father's journal called it the roof of the old world, a massive graveyard of technology, sun-bleached bones of human ambition. It was also prime territory for scavengers and raiders. From her position nestled between Zerithion's shoulder blades, Kaya scanned the horizon. The neural link between her and the alien dragon was growing more efficient. What began as an awkward mental merger had become an intuitive flow of thought. She didn't just ride him anymore. She flew with him. But something felt off. A tension thrummed in her bones. "They are watching," Zerithion said. His voice now felt less like a whisper and more like a second consciousness braided into her own. 4 signatures. They track us from the ruins below. How far? Kaya asked aloud. Close enough to smell the hydrogen in my veins. The ambush. Kaya barely had time to shout before the attack began. From the skeletal towers of the dead city rose 3 skiffs. Hovercrafts rigged from salvaged engines and bristling with cannons. Behind them followed a massive dirigible with rotating blades and a hull patched with tarps and bones. Dragon! A voice bellowed through crude amplifiers. By decree of the Dust Lords, your corpse belongs to us. Kaya's jaw clenched. She knew these types. Raiders didn't just kill. They stripped. If they caught Zerithion, they'd gut him like a machine, sell his parts for credits and ego. We're not giving them the chance. Agreed. Brace. Zerithion surged into a vertical climb. Plasma shots streaked past them, searing the air. One grazed his tail, leaving a molten scar. He banked sharply, wings groaning from the strain. Kaya swung her harness into place and activated the hydrospike launcher, a weapon they cobbled together from shipwreck debris and ancient terraforming tools. She fed in the last fusion core she'd salvaged and locked onto the closest skiff. Now! The spike roared from its mount and tore through the skiff like paper. The explosion sent shards raining across the city. 2 remain, Zerithion said, and the airship. Get us lower. I have an idea. He dove. The rooftop chase. The next minutes blurred in a frenzy of light and speed. Kaya and Zerithion weaved through skeletal towers and hollow megastructures, using the ruins as cover. One skiff pursued them relentlessly, its driver screaming into a microphone, firing plasma bolts that turned concrete to dust. Kaya leapt from Zerithion mid-flight, trusting their link, and landed on a rooftop as the skiff approached. She unholstered her pulse saw and triggered a feedback loop on the tower's collapsed antenna. Come on. The antenna exploded just as the skiff passed. The wreck spiraled into a heap of metal and flames. Zerithion caught her midair as she leapt from the collapsing rooftop. That was reckless, he muttered. Worked, didn't it? But the airship was still above them, rising, staying out of range. Then it opened its belly. From within dropped a gravity net, a pulsing sphere of dark energy designed to trap, not kill. The moment it struck, Kaya felt the jolt through their link. Zerithion screamed, not aloud, but through her mind. They're draining me. His wings faltered. They were going down. Crash and burn. They slammed into the sands on the far edge of the plateau. Kaya blacked out for seconds, maybe longer. When she came to, her shoulder was dislocated, her vision swimming. Zerithion lay slumped beside her, his wings twisted and venting steam, his glow barely visible. The net was gone, but the damage was done. They were grounded. Kaya crawled toward him, dragging her arm until it popped back into place with a scream. She pressed a hand to his side. Zerithion, stay with me. Please. His reply came slowly, like a fading echo. My systems are failing. Core unstable. Don't you dare, she said, her voice breaking. We didn't come this far to die here. But her tech was fried. The fusion core was spent. Her last water ration was a warm puddle in a cracked bottle. The desert around them offered nothing but bones and ash. And then the wind shifted. Kaya turned, blinking into the rising dust cloud. A figure emerged from the storm. The stranger in the deal, wrapped in silken armor and walking with the grace of someone not quite human. The stranger carried a glowing staff and a breathing mask made from shimmering nanoglass. She didn't speak right away. She simply looked at Kaya, then at the dying dragon, and knelt beside him. He is one of the ancients, she said softly. Her voice was accented with tones Kaya couldn't place. The ones who seeded this world before we ever knew it could be ours. Who are you? Kaya asked. I am Vera, daughter of the Moon Archives. I study what remains. Vera pulled a vial from her satchel. It shimmered with blue liquid. Pure hydrogen. Kaya realized. Refined. Stable. This will not heal him fully, Vera said, but it may buy you another sky. What do you want in return? Kaya asked warily. Vera's eyes studied her, and for a long moment she said nothing. Only that you remember this. Not all gods stay dead, and not all dragons breathe fire. She poured the hydrogen into a port near Zarithion's chest. He roared. A surge of energy flared through him. His eyes snapped open. Wings twitched. The cracked skin of his core pulsed with renewed life. He rose, weak but alive. "You saved me again," he said, his voice steadier. "And you brought help." But Kaya had no answer. When she turned to thank Vera, the woman was gone. The path ahead. They rested that night beneath a broken satellite dish, surrounded by sand that shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Kaya sat by a fire made from solar panel shards, staring into the embers. Zarithion lay beside her, wings curled. "You were willing to die for me," he said at last. "I didn't come this far to give up," she replied. "And I don't leave people behind, even if they're ancient alien dragons." A long silence followed. Then he said, "There is something else you must know. The ice tomb, it is not just a vault. It is a key to more than hydrogen, to awakening my kind." Kaya's heart beat faster. "You mean there are more like you?" "Sleeping, across this world, in stasis. But the ice tomb, if activated, can send a beacon, a recall signal. I was the last to fall, but I may not be the only one left." Kaya stared up at the stars. The journey wasn't just about saving one dying creature anymore. It was about waking up a sleeping world. The journey to the ice tomb was nothing short of apocalyptic. Kaya and Zarithion flew north over continents scarred by war, famine, and climate collapse. The earth below transformed from deserts into bone-dry tundra. Vast stretches of frozen dust and wind-swept metal. There were no cities here, no signs of life. Only monoliths of rust and ice, remnants of a time when humans had once tried to colonize the stars and failed. Kaya kept her eyes on the horizon. Her body ached. Her shoulder, re-injured in the crash, throbbed constantly. The cold gnawed at her even through layers of insulation. And Zarithion was weakening again. The temporary boost from Vera's hydrogen had given him just enough strength to make it this far, but not much farther. "My core is dimming again," he said. His voice, once thundering, now felt like it was coming from somewhere far away. "I am not built for cold. This is a final stretch, Kaya." "Then we make it count," she whispered, her breath fogging the mask. "Just hold on. We're close." They flew through the endless white for another 3 hours. Then the ground cracked. The ice tomb. The terrain dropped into a wide basin, unnatural and symmetrical. The edges were reinforced with alloyed steel supports, some still faintly glowing. The winds changed here. The cold had a pulse to it, a vibration in the air that wasn't natural. Kaya's scanner blared weakly. Hydrogen concentration. Spike detected. Signature match. Deep fusion fuel cells. 87% purity. Vault designation. Hydrogen storage node // code. Ice tomb. They had found it. At the center of the basin stood a dome-shaped structure, half buried beneath snow and time. Smooth. Seamless. Alien in design. Even Zarithion paused. "This is not human." "No," Kaya said slowly. "But humans were here. My father's notes." He traced it. Said orbital tech went down during the collapse. "I think they found this place and tried to use it. Or maybe they sealed it away." She approached the dome with caution. The entrance was a triangular aperture covered in frost. As she stepped closer, the scanner on her wrist flickered, then connected. Biometric match, partial. Access level, provisional. "Welcome, daughter of Vanks." The door split open with a hiss. Inside the tomb, the air inside was warm. Not naturally regulated. Clean. Kaya stepped inside, her boots echoing on polished floors. The chamber glowed with pale green light from veins in the walls. Everything inside was still active after centuries. Suspended tanks of liquid hydrogen filled the lower levels, connected to pipes, regulators, fusion stabilizers. It was a power station, a last reserve, forgotten by the world. At the center was a console, shaped like a crystal lattice. Kaya approached and placed her hand on it. The lattice glowed, then projected a hologram, an ancient message from the original terraformers. Images of Hydroni dragons flying over newborn oceans. voices speaking in a mix of alien tones and translated human words. This is Archive Node 77. Final order. Standby. Recall signal pending activation. Awaiting key interface. Kaya didn't hesitate. She activated the interface and felt Zerithion's mind surge forward through their link, pouring into the system like starlight through a circuit. I remember this, he whispered. We built these to renew broken worlds. If you awaken the tomb, I can send the signal. The others, if they yet live, will rise. Do it, Kaya said. I'm ready. Are you? There's a prize, Kaya. She blinked. What do you mean? To awaken the signal, I must fuse entirely. No more fragments. No more tether. You must give all your energy, your water, your warmth, your will, to me. You will not die, but you may no longer be fully human. Kaya stepped back, heart racing. Her entire life, she had fought to survive, to remain herself in a world that took everything. And now, to save that world, she had to give part of it up. But then she looked at Zerithion, scarred, noble, eternal. He had waited centuries, alone, dying, and still, he had not given in to rage or despair. He had protected her, believed in her. Take what you need, she said. You are certain? Yes. If this is what it takes to bring water back to the earth, then I'll pay the price. The fusion, the interface glowed blinding white. Kaya screamed, not from pain, but from overload. Every cell in her body vibrated. Her veins lit with hydrogen. Her breath became fire and mist. She felt herself stretch, beyond flesh, beyond bone, into light. Zerithion roared, rising, his wings unfurling wide as starlight poured through him. His shattered scales were formed into obsidian glass, shot through with living veins of light. The fracture in his chest healed, glowing brighter than any sun Kaya had ever seen. And still they rose. The beacon fired. A pillar of energy shot into the sky, piercing the clouds and continuing into space. Across Earth, in deep ocean trenches and beneath mountain ranges, other hydroni stirred. One by one, they awakened, holographic minds twitching, cores reactivating, wings shaking off centuries of sleep. They hear us, Zerithion said. His voice was different now. Part Kaya, part emerged. The world turns again. The rain returns. It began slowly. A drip, then a patter, then a downpour. Rain fell from the sky for the first time in 100 years. Real water, cold, cleansing, free. Not recycled mist. Not artificial spray. Rain. All across the planet. Scavengers looked up. Survivors stood with arms open. Children danced in streets of broken concrete. Hydroni flew again, living rivers with wings, carving clouds into storm fronts, purifying lakes, melting glaciers. Earth was becoming fertile again. Not overnight, but it had begun. At the center of it all, Zerithion flew high above the ice tomb. Kaya still riding at his heart, her presence fused, not lost. She was no longer just a human girl. She was the conduit of the tomb, the girl who gave her water to a dragon and restored life to a dying world. Epilogue, the Sky Garden. Years later, legends would tell of the Star Dragon and the Waterborn, a human who spoke to a god and awoke the sky. The ice tomb would become sacred ground, protected by the awakened Hydroni, its waters guarded and shared freely. And in the highest reaches of the stratosphere, Kaya and Zerithion still flew, watching over the world they had healed together. Their thirst at last quenched,